Hello there, Ray here. We got a brand new 1.20 snapshot that's also going to be used for 1.19.4 Java. It comes with changes including unique paintings, accessibility additions, new easy way to display blocks entities in text, Sculk sensors got a buff, and how you could die from dehydration. And at the end of the video, we'll be looking at the Valentine cape. Now let's get into it. Leave a like and subscribe for more. They now added it so that paintings are in the creative menu. So if you go to the functional blocks and you scroll down, you can see there is a ton of paintings showing up. And if you set your mouse over top of each of them, it'll tell you what the painting's name is, as well as the artist's name and how big it is. So if you're looking for a very specific painting, like the one of the creeper, you can just go ahead and grab it and place it down. And if there's adequate room, it will appear. This makes it easy for people that are trying to get specific for their decorations, or if you're someone that actually changes out the paintings so they look like something else, then you can easily get the one that you're looking for. Now, so far, you can't control pick block to get the exact painting that you see. They added a parity between Java Edition and Bedrock. That is when you play music. It's actually going to show these little note particles coming out of it. You guys might remember the entity called marker, which is something kind of to replace armor stands so you can indicate a special point. They added in 3 more of these type of things. They're called display entities. There's one called block display, and just like the marker thing, you can't see them, they don't tick, and they don't have any collision or physics. That way they don't interfere with the performance of your game. There's also one called item display and one called text display. You can type it out just like this, and when you hit enter, it'll just be floating text, but you only can see it on one side. And you use this command here to do the different types of blocks, and this command here to do the items. And using these, you can actually display unique items kind of just floating in the air. This way you don't have to put like an item inside of an armor stand, so they hold it. The same thing can be done for blocks, because blocks do look a bit different than some items. There's a whole separate one for the way those are displayed, and they're going to be displayed using a similar format as like Enderman holding item. It could also be done with text, so you can have like floating text in your map, so it's easy for people to read like the rules, and it don't have to be on like small signs or inside of lecterns. They have an illustration of this where they have a whole bunch of text showing up in the game. There's a lot of unique properties you can do with these individual display entities, including you can rotate them, you can do transformations to them, you can also make them move between locations. I'm sure map makers will do a lot of crazy things using these. The actual look of the item can also be changed, like the brightness, how far you can see it, giving the players a lot of control over it. They added a new damage command, so you can select what you want to damage, where should the damage come from. Then you can choose a location, like an area where it came from, or an entity, like we could say it could come from a potion. And then we can say where that potion is actually coming from. Let's say it comes from a wolf. Now we have both things nearby, in this case an arrow and a wolf. When we go ahead and hit enter, you can see the arrow actually damages me even though it's stuck in the ground over here, and the wolf is way over there. And if we continue this until we actually die, it will give us a unique death message saying Rays has died from dehydration. Now, dying from dehydration is normally not possible for players, but it can be possible for some mobs that need to be in water. This will be great for map makers, as they can make really unique situations without actually modding. Now, if you did want to get into the details behind how the damage thing actually works, you can really tweak exactly how it appears, how it's being scaled, extinguished, the different types of effects, and the unique death messages. They also added so the execute command can now also have summon right after it, making it easy to summon a mob with specific characteristics. If you ever got tired of vines spreading, there's a new game rule which you can enact for doVineSpread. Normally this is set to true, but you can change it to false if you don't want vines to grief a build of yours. That way you don't have to use like string or shears in some cases. They added some new function to the accessibility settings in here, including how much your player should tilt when they are damaged. So if we go ahead and turn it off, and when we take damage, the player doesn't move side to side at all. But if we turn it up to default and then we hop on it, you can see how the player and the screen starts to shake. Sometimes if you're purposely trying to take damage, it can be really annoying to constantly have your screen moving all about. Also in these settings was something that used to be called notification display time, but they just shortened it down to notification time. If text can't quite fit on the screen, it will shift back and forth so you can read the entire thing. I know a few people point out, why don't they just put these options so they're as wide as the Minecraft screen? You can see there's a bunch of unused room over here as well as over here. This is true for a lot of things like statistics, where all the numbers get crammed together, when they could just make it wider. Do you think they should do this? In the control settings, they now made it very easy to know what keys you can bind and which ones you can't. So if you just go ahead and try to change this one, if I try to change it to like my mouse click button, you can see it's showing me that these two are using the same button to do the same action, and also has this display saying this key is also used for such and such. This will make it easy to see if you have incompatible key setup and how you can resolve it. Now when you come in to make a new world, they did do some changes in the last snapshot. They went ahead and also added in a few more suggestions. One being you can now use Control Tab to tab through these tabs at the top, or you can use Control Shift Tab to go backwards. You also can use Control Tab and a number to immediately jump to specific ones. This is great for like speedrunners who make macros that quickly go through this creating menu screen because they're going through so many worlds very quickly. There's also a new button for experiments, so you can easily decide if you want to turn on experiments, buttons you can actually turn on. And it does warn you about these experimental worlds. The same experimental thing can also be found here in the data packs if you want to actually see this setup and add in other data packs. Now, even though I've been playing Minecraft since the very beginning 2009, I actually really enjoy this setup here, but I did see some people complain about it. So what's your thoughts? I'm testing all the new features live with you, the viewer. It should be a ton of fun. You can find my stream link in the description and the server IP on my Discord. You can get a Minecraft server like mine for 25% off by using code RAY at Bisect Hosting. This supports me and lets me continue to have the server open for snapshot testing. Sculk sensors got a buff today. They're now able to detect when harvesting glowberries or using shears on different vines and kelp, taking a book out of lectern, farmland being trampled, frogs and turtles laying eggs, dying of sheep, using leads on mobs, interacting with item frames, adding to a respawn anchor, and closing chests that are inside of boats and minecarts, and detecting when villagers work with workstations, which could be useful in areas like my raid farm, but overall with more Sculk abilities, it will allow for easier automation. Players will no longer get attacked by piglins when they open up hopper minecarts, as this was a bug. The amount of damage that the warden would do towards a entity, such as like this cow, compared to how much damage it would do towards a player was actually different, and now they made it the same. If you would happen to have a curse of binding helmet on your head, you can't actually remove it in survival. But with the recent changes, you could just actually switch it out with a different helmet using your hotbar. That wasn't intended, so you can no longer take off the curse of binding using this method. Switching armor out using the hand will now play the equip sound, including when placing the shield in the offhand. When it came to the palette color of the iron on iron, this iron palette was not using the correct darkness like we see in the other ones. Compare this with the other armor, when they have trim on it, you can't really see it on the iron armor. So now it's made darker. Indicator icon over here in this slot kind of shows the player what they should place inside there, but it was missing the amethyst icon, which they've now added. In recent snapshot, they accidentally ruined the anvil, so you couldn't actually shift click the second item into the anvil, but this has now been resolved. It also resolves some problems with the player when getting attacked, which way the player would tilt. The Hoglin stable chest in Bastions was given the wrong loot, and instead was actually given the bridge chest loot. The Z fighting that would happen between the boots on a player has been in the game for a long time and has finally been resolved. Despite fire charges being able to be used as an ingredient, they weren't showing up in the ingredients tab on the creative menu, so now they've been added. When using the write command to write something that wasn't in the same dimension as you, it was causing a desync. They fixed a number of different problems with text hanging over the top of things. Bedrock Edition got a new beta as well as preview, which came in with some experimental stuff where they fixed some bugs as well as did a bunch of other bug fixes, including some technical stuff like a overhaul with the API. With Valentine's coming up on the 14th, there's been a lot of question about the Valentine's cape in Minecraft. This is actually a real cape that was accidentally given to a couple players over the years. The last person that received one was LOL Foxy2. You can actually see it on his profile here. The background of the cape is pink and there is a heart in the center with a daisy flower just underneath. This is what it would look like if you had it on a Elytra. Now, LOL Foxy did explain how he accidentally got this cape when he asked for support in migrating his account. It seems like the support team accidentally gave him the wrong cape instead of giving him the normal cape when you migrate your account, which is officially known as a migratory cape. Now, when it comes to holidays and capes, in the past, they had a couple of temporary capes for holidays such as Christmas and this Christmas cape, which includes a Christmas tree with some festive colors. There's also the 2011 New Year's cape, which has a little 11 on it. So it's very possible to do a similar thing, but using the Valentine cape. They only have it temporary so that it's on the players and then it's removed after the holiday. What do you guys think about the Valentine cape? Should they introduce more temporary capes in the game? Now join me live on Twitch or check out this playlist about everything we know about 1.20 so far, or this one on new farms for 1.20. And thank you everyone who shares what I do with other Minecrafters, as this is the best way to support me. If you ever see anybody using any of my tricks or farms, make sure to message me on Twitter or Discord. I'd like to thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.